what got them to be a millionaire, the emotional side, the spiritual side, the practical side of wealth. You'll also get to meet the women behind the scenes helping make it happen. Let's dive into Women Behind the Millions. I am Jessica Weaver, your host, best-selling author of 3 books, wealth advisor, and founder of the Women's Wealth Boutique. Let's start meeting the women. Hello, ladies and money queens. Welcome back to Women Behind the Millions. I am thrilled to be here with you during our Beyond the Broker season. This season is dedicated to these fearless women in the financial industry who help women like moi go independent and really create their own space in the industry and carve out what is their niche, what is their specialty, their brand, their marketing, who they love to work with. So it's really near and dear to my heart this season of Women Behind the Millions. And tonight's theme is all about I Hope You Will Dance. You know the song, and you will dance. We go through the entrepreneurial roller coaster. One day we can have the lowest of lows. The next day, the client finally pays their invoice, or we get a new client or a speaking engagement, and now we're back up high. It truly is a roller coaster. And those moments when we receive these amazing miracles, small miracles, large ones, and opportunities, it is a time to dance and to celebrate because that just brings more and more of them into our world, just like the law of attraction, right? All of the universal laws, right? Like attracts like into us. I'm going to be honest with you all that we started the Wealth Boutique in March of 2022. And probably within 6 months, huge learning curve for myself. I remember thinking, can I actually do this? It was, while we were growing, it was expensive to launch our own firm, especially when you look at things like technology and compliance, taking up so much of the revenue that you're not used to. Is this really worth it? And every entrepreneur, yourself included, have had the thought, wouldn't it be easier just to go and get a job? Wouldn't it be easier as well? And you go through these moments of the swamp of quicksand where it's one bad thing happens after another, and it starts to consume you. The stress comes, the anxiety. I mean, you could just feel the energy changing as I talk about it. Client's upset, a client's leaving. You just got hit with an audit, an unexpected audit, right? And it just keeps mounting and mounting. And what I found is we all go through those stages on that roller coaster cycle. But it's so much better when you have the team on the other side of it, throwing you a rope and pulling you through that swamp. Knowing you've got this, we are here for you. We're going to help you navigate through this so that you don't repeat problems and issues that we've had to go through, that we can find a solution together. It's why we are such big proponents of community and collaboration over competition here at the Wealth Boutique and at Pink Fix Productions. It's why we have this ecosystem that we really invest into through Pink Fix Productions, through our books like Beyond the Broker, this show, Women Behind the Millions, our magazine, our events, our retreats as well. And it's a real testament to our guest that we have on with us tonight. She's a huge advocate for exactly these values that we really hold near and dear to our heart on the community, the collaboration, and giving back and supporting one another. It's so much easier when you're in the swamp, when you have people and they're rooting for you, supporting you, getting in the dirt with you, pulling you out as well. And that's the ecosystem that we really are building and crafting here at Pink Fix Productions and at the Wealth Boutique. Well, tonight's guest, Tricia Brady, is a lifelong advocate for women's empowerment in the financial services, with over 3 decades of experience helping advisors build independent practices. The entrepreneur, she's a mother of 4, passionate about supporting nonprofits, youth development, women's leadership. Her journey is about balancing family, work, and service, inspiring others to embrace their own paths with confidence and resilience. And that's exactly what I think of when I think of Tricia, resilience as well. So we're going to bring Tricia to the stage. Hello, Tricia. Welcome to Women Behind the Millions.
Hello, how are you? I'm very excited about this.
Sure, you're turned and looking at the camera too, so we can see your beautiful face. There we go.
Now that I can't see you.
You'll never know what I'm doing, what faces I'm doing to you, Trisha, as well. Something as I was reading your bio about balancing work and family life, as I was talking about before, the roller coaster of being an entrepreneur or being a co-owner or having equity in a firm. It feels like we're expected to just turn it off when we go home to the family unit. And for me, it's very hard, and I wanna hear your take on this, very hard to separate it. It feels so much ingrained in just who I am that to go home and things aren't great at work or we're struggling or I'm stressed about the money, um, or the opposite, I'm on riding cloud 9 and I'm so excited I wanna celebrate, but my kids need something else from me in the moment. How have you navigated that?
I don't think you can really separate it, right? I think for me, growing up in this space, as I had little kids at the beginning, I would do what I need to do to put myself all in work. But at the same time, if I needed to be at activities or I needed to, they called me or they reached out and wanted to talk to me, I would just make sure I got on those red eyes, right, to make it back. And if I was at a dinner with a bunch of clients and advisors or people that I was working with and they FaceTime me, I would just say, okay, wait a minute, I got to take this call. And I'll talk to the kids while I'm at the dinner, and then I'll introduce them to everybody else that I have there. I just kind of integrate it together. And I think it's the only way that you can make it work.
Yeah, it's hard, I guess men are good at compartmentalizing different
Yeah.
portions of their lives, but for us, work comes home with us and home comes to work with us. Right before this, I'm watching a video of my son caroling at a rehab facility, for 2, and then jumping right into this interview, from a call with compliance. I mean, it's just always part of the flow, but I feel like those moments also, I don't know about you, Trisha, kinda give me that jolt of energy as well when you are able to kinda get grounded with home, even if you're miles away, flights away, that little moment.
Yeah, I think it's that, and it's also ties to your purpose, right? So why is it that you're doing what you're doing? And it's all about them, really. I mean, me, I have 3 girls and a boy, right? So for me, it's always been about growing up in a male-dominated industry and having 3 girls. How do I empower them and let them see what I'm about and how they could be, as they're growing up, right? And being more empowering and being able to not be afraid to stand out, because it's really difficult to be in this space. So having those kids being able to see you and, understand kind of what you're going through and see, it's possible. Anything's possible that they want to do. I think it just makes it a lot easier for you to go day to day. It's not easy, right? So there's always that, I feel like I'm missing out on something, or, there's that stress of balancing everything all the time. But there's always a way to push through, and knowing that they're there and seeing their smile and seeing them actually grow up into the people that they are makes you feel really better about what you've done and what you've shown to them and that they can do.
And for them to feel so valued that you would take a break from work, a work dinner. And I think for me, you setting a different standard, right? Because what women before us, what did they show, right? You leave that at you're either you're the working mom, right? You're working, you're that career oriented, or you're at home. And you kind of had to pick between the two. You're involved at work, you're involved at home. And they really would check the home at the door, setting a new standard that I can take work calls and still be professional. So I can still take family calls and still be professional at a meeting. For me to be able to see you setting that example, Trisha, is huge because I'm under the like, that's bad. That's not professional. But it should
I'll
be
give some other examples too. I mean, I ran operations for a large broker-dealer branch. And this is when my 2 oldest were really young. I had a staff of about 20, in their mid-20s, guys and girls, right? And I actually had the playpen in the office, and And when I had things that are coming up and I really need that were pressing, maybe there was an audit or something going on, and things were going on with the kids, I would have certain of my staff would go to my house so they'd take care of it or they watch the kids. So it's just being able to do what you want to do, be authentic, make sure that you have the people to support you while you're doing that. And if you don't, it's really, really tough to be working, especially more of a C-level, kind of running your own business or your own show, and then having to always be worried about what's going on the other side of your personal life. If you don't have that bench and that support, it's really, really difficult.
Yes. Yes. And to go work at a place where you feel valued enough that you can do that. I was just having a conversation with a young advisor, and we talked about there is ageism in this industry.
Yeah.
Somebody young, they're not going to trust with their money versus who do they typically see, right? A white old dude, right? Too. And I said, but whenever, and I've learned this the hard way, whenever you work with clients that make you feel like you're not doing enough, smart enough, good enough, or they're constantly challenging you, that's not the right clients or the right environment, whether you're working at a corporation, the right environment to be in.
Yeah. No, it's hard.
Yeah. Very true, Tricia.
I think too, when I'm working with clients, I think because I've sat in the seat, especially when I'm working in consulting and talking to advisors these days, the fact that I've worked in a firm, I've been in the back office, I ran operations, I understand a lot of the pain points, and I've worked a lot with advisors through the years. That as I start to talk to them and I listen, um, I think there's more of a respect or an understanding with each other, and they start to listen to what I have to say, right? So it's building that rapport and letting them understand that you kind of sat in the seat. I don't have all the answers, but I've seen a lot of things. And whether it's the man or it's the woman, that's a lot of times the men. I become their therapist, right? So it's
You create that safe for them to be able to be vulnerable and open up, which is incredible. Which is, you spent 3 decades in the industry. In your chapter and Beyond the Broker, you talk about the dance, and no career path is exactly as we set it out to be. And that can frustrate the heck out of us, or you can embrace that dance, right? The side step, the forward step, the back step, the twirl, part of the dance. What drew you into the industry in the beginning? Going back 3 decades, 30 years ago.
Actually, I started in college with an internship. It was Cohane Rafferty Securities, and I was dialing for dollars, actually. It was a mortgage-backed securities program. And, it was actually a lot of fun. We would have Friday happy hours. I spent time with the guys, and it just, I think, got me interested in the space. And then after college, I actually went to Newberger and Berman, and I think I'm more of that relationship person, and I like to ask a lot of questions, and I want to understand what's going on behind the scenes, right? And so I just kind of fell into it. It's like it's not something I was thinking I was going to do. I interviewed, and then I started, just really enjoying actually the conversations with the clients on the other end and figuring out how I can help them, right? And then I just went from, client service to marketing to operations. I started building things for people, right? And just understanding kind of all the pieces and trying, how do I build it and pull it together? How do I bridge people, right? And bring them to where they need to get to by solving problems. I'm a problem solver, right? So just trying to understand. I might guess a mother, a nurturer, and a fixer, and that's kind of what came out of me is trying to help them through each step of their lives and making them empowered, right? And so I just kind of fell into it and I just learned every aspect of the business. I went from retail to sub-advised to institutional. Then I went to an RAA to the broker-dealer side. So I've kind of seen all sides, operations, relationship management, marketing, now business consulting and practice management, and been helping throughout. So I kind of find I'm the jack of all trades, but how do I pull it all together and help as people are growing?
You are one of the biggest resources we know. We love working with you, Tricia, because we'll be talking about something. Oh, as you said, you built things. Oh, I have
Yeah.
a resource for that. I have a white paper on that. I have a checklist for that. I have an assessment for that. And constantly sending us stuff. It's interesting you wanting to, you going into all these different departments and learning the processes. You went and a lot from the ground up too, right, Trisha?
And I think that's what makes a good advisor and even somebody going independent, or business owner, right? Understanding what makes up everything underneath. So you understand when you face them going forward why things are the way they are. Whenever I've trained people, I said, you don't want to just go through the mechanics. You really want to understand the why and everything. Because otherwise you just don't really know how to deal with things once they come up because you're just doing and you're not really understanding why you're doing. And so me to have that full understanding of the client service, the operations, the marketing, the compliance, as I did more and more, I just started taking on more. And then I bring the team in. I took on compliance and I said, okay, let's go through these contracts. Why are certain things listed a certain way? Let's understand. Let's bring in the attorney. Let's walk through it and talk through it and understand how they work. So now, as I talk to advisors and I'm helping them, I have a better understanding of why certain things are happening. And then I try to bring them in to understand and parts of those teams members to understand too, kind of the dynamics around that.
Yes. Yes. Now let's go back earlier on in your career, and this is in your chapter, Trisha. This is doing the importance of making your presence known. And you put in a story. I love this story where you turn to your boss and say, "You don't know my name, do you?" And you called him out on it.
Yes.
One, what gave you the courage and spunk to do that? And what a teachable moment and for women, because sometimes we do try to blend in and shy away.
Yeah, this was actually kind of in the actually my more of my American Scandia Prudential days. And it was the CEO, and I'd seen him many times, and we were at an event. I don't know what it was, and I'm talking to him, and he didn't know who I was, and I said to him, "You don't know my name, do you?" And I think from that day on, and he said he didn't. And from that day on, he never forgot who I was. And as a matter of fact, he wrote a very good recommendation on my LinkedIn. And I've still been in touch with him. I'm Facebook friends, just friends with him. And he was on the insurance side. But, and since that day, I'm always that way. I wanna make sure, especially when you're surrounded by men all the time and they're the ones that come up with all the ideas, right? Even though you have them, they're not really listening to you.
Mhm.
So just making sure that, they know who you are and you're authentic and you develop that rapport and that relationship and help you stand out.
Yes. And own your ideas.
Yes.
Just something you right, women, we spit them out, and then as you said, right, one of the men step up and they kinda run with it. Like, with that
Didn't I just say that?
somehow he reframed it to sound like his idea,
Yeah, yeah.
for it too to own it, um, for and to stand up and to be bold. I think women if we can get women more confident, especially female advisors, and I look at the male advisors, I'm like, "Wow, if we could just get a tenth of their confidence." And they're not even that they're horrible, some of them.
Yeah, and we probably know more than they do, but we are so afraid we don't know all the answers to really stand out, right? And that's something that as a perfectionist and as a woman that you have to be able to realize that you don't need to know all the answers. They don't always all know all the answers, and they wouldn't even know if you're telling them the right thing or not anyway. It's
That's
blood shoes, right?
yes. Yeah, you and I had the pleasure of seeing Carl Lawson speak, who's the Duke University Women's Basketball
She was
coach.
awesome.
And I was saying this to a group of our advisors who the exactly what I said, right? That lack of confidence, not feeling nervous because they don't know all the answers. And I said one thing that really stood out to me when she's at the end when she's doing Q&A, people are asking her questions. She would take a minute or two to think about it before just spitting out an answer. And I thought that was so genuine that she didn't just have a canned answer or just gonna go through kind of a bunch of different answers that she probably puts on repeat. She took the time to think about it. And if she didn't know, she admitted not knowing it,
Mhm.
and then
Yeah,
she's kinda started to think out loud, talk it through. Like, we can all do that if we don't we can say, "I'm gonna actually take the time to research it," than just spit out an answer that may or may not be right.
right.
And I think that's more powerful than just always having the right answer. For
Yeah, and not be
yeah.
afraid that you don't have the answer, right?
Mhm.
And let them know, "Yeah, I don't know everything. I'll come back and, I'm sure you'll get the right answer as soon as I come back to you."
Yes. Well, I wanna shift gears from making known your presence. Very important. Another huge piece of your career, 4 babies while climbing the corporate ladder.
Yeah.
Did it feel like you were climbing with the 4 babies? For carrying 4 babies, taking those steps. Do you feel like it slowed you down, Trisha?
I wasn't just doing work and the 4 babies, I was also going and getting my MBA.
Wow.
So,
Impressive.
I'm very, I like to be in everything, right? Do everything at once, let's see what happens, right? But when I was, after college and I started, in the financial services field, they paid for you to get your MBA, right? So I would take like 2 courses, each semester so that I can be with it. Well, I didn't have the kids right away, but I started my MBA year 1, and then with going into the 2nd year, I was pregnant with my first, then I was having the second. So my MBA took about 6 years as I was having the kids because I was
That
trying
takes
to
a
balance
commitment.
work, the children, and that. I actually had a nanny. It was really tough to come back to work and knowing the kids were there. But having that network and that support really helped me having somebody at home, right? That I knew could take care of them. But it actually kept driving me to just keep doing more. I was at work, I was building out websites, I was getting involved with everything. And I was trying to figure out, I actually did my MBA in marketing because I was focused at marketing at work. And I wanted to build more of that foundation. So then I got my MBA in marketing and then raising the kids. And it just pushed me harder, right? It made me try to compact everything into, you know, I guess put 24 hours together and try to make sure that I'm there for everything. It was stressful at times. I had burnout at times, right? But I wanted to be successful, and in those days when I was just starting out, we worked long hours. I was in the office till midnight sometimes. They ordered food for us, they took care of everything for us, but I was working depending on the time of the year and what was going on at work. I was working really long hours, and I had to trust having somebody at home that could take care of the kids. But like I said, I would come back on red eyes. I would pick up the call. I'd talk to them. They didn't have FaceTime at the time. It was later on, but I always talked to them on the phone. They heard my voice. I need to hear their voice. It kept me going. Right.
Yes. And what I hear from all that is efficiency. You had to be very efficient how you approached everything from grocery shopping to cleaning the house, right? Delegating at home to this
Is that type A personality? Everything has to be a certain way. You have your list, you
structure.
have everything, right? There's got to be structure in
Yes.
place. Without structure, there's chaos, and just trying to figure out how I put that chaos together. Yeah.
Yes. I feel the same way. At home, my husband being a police officer, so he's out the door by 5 AM. The kids aren't we're not up yet, um, except on Fridays. Fridays is a day of complete chaos getting out the door because we all have like, I have my process, I work out, I shower, as my hair's drying, I do the dishwasher, I pack the lunches, get the kids breakfast, get them their clothes, right? We have our system. When he comes down, he's throwing things at different hours, and then the kids melt down. I'm like, so everybody kinda knows their role and the timing of it all, and then you throw somebody new in there, like a bomb went off.
Yeah, I'll say for me, it's long hours, right?
Yeah.
So I'll try to figure out my peak time for work, but then there's always kids calling, "I need to write a paper," or "I need to do this," or "Can you help me with that?" And I don't wanna not pick it up and answer.
Mhm.
So I might be doing certain things for myself, and then I step out for an hour or 2 hours because I'm helping them do something that they need, right? So it's always I'd say I'm probably up till at least 11 or 12 every night. I don't get up as early as others. I have been trying to do Pilates in the morning, so I have something that's kind of setting that foundation for me in the morning and some balance. But it's, what do I have to do for work and how do I prioritize? And then anytime the kids call, I feel like I drop everything to go do what I need to do there. And then I come back and then I'm always playing catch up, right? So it looks like I'm very efficient, but I am spending a lot of hours and still always trying to figure out how do I make it better and how would I balance it better, or say, you know what, the kids are growing up now. So I don't really need to be doing all these things that I've been doing, but it's very hard to stop doing that.
Yes, and I'm sure because I have little kids, like, to feel needed as a mom.
You like to feel needed.
Yeah, and feel like you're contributing and you're part of their decisions. I can see that, Trisha, very hard as you're transitioning.
Yeah. And at a point, it's like, Mom, you don't need to feel like you need it. You can come to us for certain things, but you don't need to fix everything. You don't need to do this, but you feel like you always do because that's what you used to.
How about autonomy? You write about this as well in the book, the importance of autonomy. And my question to you is, do you need independence to have autonomy in what you do?
Um, it's not just being independent, right? It's more making sure that you're aligning with your values and you can do things that you feel align with the things that you believe in, right?
Yes.
When it comes to independence and you're in a corporate environment or you're under certain restrictions and limitations, you lose that autonomy, right? You can't focus on what it is that you believe and really go in a direction that speaks to you and makes you who you are.
Sure.
So that's kind of the focus that I'm talking about. And so one of the advisors that I talked through, autonomy was really strong and a big thing for her. Um, because she always had this corporate structure over her and it was limiting a lot of what she was doing. And she's like, you know what? I just need to get out from under that. And I need to be able to focus on what I think is important and where I think the clients need to be. Um, and the only way I can do that is to be on my own and having that autonomy.
Sure. I could see that. I feel very similar. My father's for
Mhm.
while a lot of synergies, I still felt I couldn't fully embrace where I was being pulled
Yeah.
and led. And it wasn't just his, it was also just that broker dealer infrastructure. And moving over to the RA space opened up so many doors and opportunities
Yeah.
as well. So, it's taking a look. And that's a big piece of the book is, should I stay or should I go? The path of least resistance might be to stay, and it might make sense for the cost of
Yeah.
transitioning and leaving on your own, which is the next piece I wanna really hone in on. Now you have made that decision, you can have autonomy where you are, or you have to settle for too many things, and you kind of feel like probably you're giving up a piece of yourself
Mhm.
to fit into their mold, so now we're breaking away.
Right.
Hey, Tricia, what do clients need most when they are transitioning with their advisor?
It's That's the next big part, which I think is great for women, is that empathy, right? Being able to anticipate those clients' needs and understand kind of where they're going and what's in their mindset, right? And how do you help them? Not just not just looking at what's good for you, but understanding the clients and being able to articulate that so that they feel comfortable. That empathy, we're nurturers. We have that tendency to always be empathetic. And that's why I think it helps with women that are going independent more than anybody, because that's just innate for us, that empathy.
Yes, and as you said, to articulate it to their clients as they're going through it. I think sometimes it gets get jumbled up and we can't say it in a clear, concise, deliverable message as well. So taking the time to practice it, talk it through with other people, maybe test it out, uh, even getting like surveying your clients, what could
Yeah.
be better, and using that as part of those leading those conversations as well, but articulating.
And what that does is it builds that trust in that relationship,
Mhm.
and the more that they trust you, they're gonna follow you, right? They just need to make sure that you understand where they're coming from, and there's that rapport and that relationship and the understanding there. So it builds that trust. It helps with the strengthening relationships. It's just, I think it's really, really important. And I think when we talk about some of the trends too, empathy is the biggest thing that women really, really have within themselves that I think help with clients and making that decision to go independent.
Mhm. And it might have taken the advisor months, years to make this decision.
Oh yeah.
The clients don't have that.
That might it usually takes some years. Yes.
Yeah, the clients, they don't have that luxury of all that time, and they don't realize all the due diligence you've been doing. So letting them know the research, the training, the meetings, the demos, I mean, everything that goes into that decision so that they feel heard and valued.
Yeah, I think so that does go back to you with the surveying and talking to them and even doing some reviews, your annual reviews with the clients, understanding where they might have some challenges or fears around some of these changes so that as you're creating your communication and trying to figure out your plan, you're addressing that ahead of time, really, and
Mhm.
hearing what they have to say. So listening to them, right? And really asking the questions that you think so you can get ahead of it. See yourself through the lens of the client.
Sure. Yes. What are some things that are overlooked, not just in regards to the clients, but in general, when advisors going independent? What are some things that they overlook?
I think when an advisor is going independent, most times it's because they want more in their pocket, right? So it's
Mhm.
just making sure, and that's not necessarily always on the women's side. I think just overall, it's the numbers first. The broker dealer, whoever I'm working with, is taking a lot of that away from me. But they've got to realize that now, you own everything, right? So making sure that you're comfortable with the compliance aspect, all the costs that are gonna be involved with everything, operationally, your
Mhm.
workflows and everything that you do today. Do you have that support network that you need, to help you as you're going on your own? And do you have that business mindset? So just making sure, as an advisor, you're great relationship managers, but now you've got another hat. You're now a business owner. And are you comfortable with being that business owner? Or are you more comfortable leaning on somebody else for all of that and just really having the relationship with your clients?
Yes, 2 very different
Yeah.
mindsets and paths for an advisor. You're great at and you just wanna grow your clientele base and build it up versus creating its own, as we said before, ecosystem and business and more of an entrepreneurial hat. And when you said take it all on, I'm thinking take it all on the liability as well.
Yeah. You're
Now
taking
you need to be
everything.
compliant.
Less liability. Yeah, yeah. And all personalities too, right? So you're in HR now also. So you gotta make sure you can deal with all the dynamics of all the people working for you at this point where you didn't all have to deal with all that before. It was just you and your clients and that relationship.
Yes, the HR and talk about balancing more responsibility than you ever
Mhm.
have before. What would you recommend, to these women? They're going independent, and all of a sudden they're like, "Wow," you said, "I'm finance, I'm HR, I'm tech, I'm a splinter, I'm in charge of the clients," and it just keeps going on and on. What would you say to them, recommend to them as they're inundated with new responsibilities?
I just think they have to make sure that they're building a strong support network, right?
Mhm.
You have to be prepared for the unexpected. Things aren't gonna happen exactly the way you think they're gonna happen. There's gonna be these little things that happen throughout that you're not gonna expect. And trust in your ability. That's something that we have a weakness, right? Trust in your ability to
Mhm.
succeed, right?
Yes.
And it all also goes down to back to the why. Why are you doing this to begin with?
Mhm.
If you're rooted in your purpose, I think you're going to figure out everything else. But it can't be just about the money. It's got to be a greater purpose that's there, and that's going to help you and lean on people. You can't do everything yourself. You got to be able to lean and have that network and that support behind you to be successful.
Going back to we talked about type A. I mean, let's face it, most of the women in our universe are probably type A personalities. They like to be in control. They like to be the head of it, leading, guiding, nurturing as well. But with that comes that struggle to delegate
Yes. Yeah.
as well. So when you're talking about leaning on your team, and one of my questions, what do women CEOs struggle with the most? Do you think is that delegation?
You know what? I think women as a whole, like we were saying before, we like to be needed, and we like to control everything that's there. At least a lot of us that are in those types of positions. But I do think that women are probably better than most on that nurturing and that developing of others and being able to pass certain things down. But it just like with your clients, it comes with trust. Um, I think more often with men, it's more of that founder syndrome and no one else can do it better. I have to do it myself is what I find. Less so than with most women. But I think, yeah, it's the delegation is the hardest on everybody. It's
Mhm.
you feel like you can only do it the best way. But in order for people to learn and to be able to take over, you got to allow them to make mistakes. And maybe it's giving them a little bit at a time, but making them own it and really learn it, and let them fail a little bit, right? Make sure it's not something that's so much that you're giving them that it could hurt the company, or the firm, but start giving them things that they can do. It might take them a little longer, or they might take a different route, but make sure that you're starting to delegate as much as you can. Because if you don't do it, you're just gonna keep building it more and more on yourself, and you're not gonna be as productive, you're gonna be burnt out, and you're not gonna be able to grow.
Yes. Yep, you're gonna stall out. Sure, we've seen that happen, Trisha.
I know it's hard. I'm very I know for a fact for me, it's very difficult, but I've learned over time on how to delegate and to try to bring people up.
Yes. Yes. Now let's say we're over. We've left, we're independent now. Let's spend a few minutes about building that boutique firm that is kind of along with your autonomy, your specialty, aligned with your values. What are the benefits of having a boutique kind of firm?
I guess again, you own it, right? It's your going back again to that autonomy and the empathy and the resilience and being able to vision what it is that you wanna do now, right? And nobody's holding you back. You can do what you can be pink. You can wear pink to everything, right? You don't have to be in blue suits, right? You can go and you can design the vision that you have. I mean, I just worked with an advisor that wanted to focus really on passing down wisdom, right? I don't want to be that traditional advisor that's just talking about the investments and how that passes down. So we talked about the vision and the concept, and we build out, we started with the family love letter and how do you pass down that wisdom and how do you bring that to life? I think going on your own, it's just making sure that you now are on your own. So take it, embrace it, right?
Mhm.
Go on that journey and do it as what you wanted to do and make sure that you have the people around you that not only just think about that you don't want somebody that thinks exactly the way you do. You want to be able to bounce ideas off and grow together. Um, More importantly, though, you do want to understand the compliance. You want to understand the HR, right? All those dynamics. And how do you build people together? How do you build people up, right? And build the team and making sure that it's not that you're butting heads, you're competing with each other. There is a little bit of that competition, but it's got to be healthy competition and that you're helping everybody grow. Um, I think that independence, people are wondering why they hadn't done it sooner. But you have to have that business owner mentality, right? You have to be that person that wants to grow and can help empower others around you. You can't be that person that's pushing people down too, or you're not going to get out of your own way.
Sure. Oh, yes. And I think of being able to have that specialty of services and technology that really lines up with, as you were talking about, that vision of passing on knowledge. That's not going to be probably the traditional technology you would have at that large broker dealer, but now you can really explore what's that technology. Maybe it's more open format that you can share with your family, your friends, many manifestos we talk about a lot too.
Yeah, and I think that vision has to be aligned. You need to know everybody needs to know who your target is, who's your audience, how do we approach that audience? All of that has to be, the vision needs to be shared, right? So that you can grow with that vision.
Oh, great point, and everybody has to be on board with that vision. The
Mhm.
person that's like, "Meh, I don't really care about this," they're gonna hold you back,
Yes. Yes.
and that energy is gonna be there, especially if they're client facing. No, 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 you're right. Sh Open communication about the vision, and everybody has buy-in into it, and they're aligned with it.
Yeah, and don't be afraid about of obstacles, right? Make sure that there's going to be obstacles, there's going to be issues, there's going to be things you have to deal with, and just figure out how you deal with it together, and you grow from it.
Oh, beautiful, Trisha. Thank you so much. We talked about from building things, climbing the corporate ladder, raising 4 kids at the same times, having empathy, transition tips, right? Having to get the whole team on board, your clients, surveying your clients so that they feel heard, that their needs are being met as well, and that ideally your transition is going to only help service them even better as well, whether it's your own service to technology, the investments, so much of it as well. Well, we're gonna take a quick break, and then we're gonna come back to ask Trisha just a few more questions, so stay with us, ladies. Stop playing small, and girl, stop hiding your story. Your story matters. It is a privilege to hear your story, so get out there and tell it. Unlock this remarkable potential of your life story and go on an extraordinary journey towards becoming a best-selling author and a thriving entrepreneur. Just look at some of our financial trendsetters who became a best-selling author, who went on to lead more multi-author anthology books. Donna Cates in Divorce Decoded, a manifesto for women going through divorce. Or Kaylin Tanner's Rise and Find, to put together a community that encompasses all of a woman, not just these small pieces of her. Or Camille Roberson putting together a groundbreaking book, Beyond the Broker, for women in the financial industry. All these ladies used their story to build a platform and broadcast it out to the world while building these communities, fostering, nurturing their clients, their relationships, and giving back. All of these book proceeds are going towards nonprofits, foundations, scholarships, to build even more resources out there for women. And that's what we do here at Pink Fix Productions. We amplify your voice, get your story to be told, and in the hands of the right audiences. That's how we got you, girl. All right, we are back with Tricia Brady here, and she is a business consultant to not just women, but men and women, financial advisors, CEOs of financial firms on the independent side. Well, Tricia, we're at the point of the show. We're going to ask you a few questions. The first one is, what is your Beyond the Broker tip for women advisors?
I would say I hope they see that independence isn't just a career move, right? It's a personal transformation, whether it's autonomy, empathy, or resilience. It's the key to find your rhythm and build something that aligns with your values, right? Start by clarifying your why. Independence comes with challenges, but when rooted in a strong purpose, like I said before, it's one of the most rewarding moves you can make. And remember to, build a strong network, right? Prepare for the unexpected and trust in your ability to succeed.
Ooh, build a strong network. That is a really good point. We didn't talk about that
Mhm.
earlier in the show, but not just your team, but part of that ecosystem is the professionals that you surround yourself with,
Yeah.
the clients who rave about you, right? How do you invest in those relationships? Actually, right after this show, we have an event with local women business owners who've been very supportive of us, and we want to talk about how can we invest back into their businesses. and their clients and grow. And we call it the wealth circle, right? It's a circle of
That's awesome.
constantly
Yeah.
of nurturing and feeding into each other as well. Great tip. And I love it. It's not just a career change or move. This is your transformation into it. And I can attest that when I look back to 3 years ago, I am not the same person I was even a year ago. The amount that you're going to learn and
Mhm.
grow during that transition. And I was talking to a young advisor yesterday, and every little bit, that is what builds your confidence. And it keeps coming and coming. And then you just show up as that confident person you kind of wish you always were.
Yeah.
I
Or you were, it was just hidden.
There you go. I love that, Trisha. I love that. Beautiful, beautiful tip. How about your beyond the broker trend?
Um, I think we talked about this a little bit. I think women excel at building trust and fostering deep client relationships, right? And independence is allowing us to leverage these strengths. So I think the trend is really combining that empathy with the technical expertise, right? Women are redefining what it means to succeed in financial services, whether it's leveraging the AI in the technology space there. So they're doing less admin and focusing really on that relationship, or it's personalization, like we were saying, leading that charge and creating boutique client experiences that align with the client needs, understanding what their needs are rather than just pushing product, right?
Yes, no more pushing products. Yeah, catering and customizing to those needs. And that's why I love the niche marketing where you can find who is that ideal person that you love to work with. You replicate them, but you can really carve out exactly what they need instead of being just this generic financial plan. It's custom. Let's say to the divorce is a great example, right? What do they need during pre-divorce, getting our eggs in a row during the divorce, helping them get through it. Post-divorce, now this is their new life. Let's set new goals that are personal to you, not when you were a we, but now you're a
Mhm.
me. And
Right.
onward.
Yeah.
It's no different than, all right, we're gonna put you into the system, we're gonna project it out, and then you're good to go. Yeah. I love that, Trisha. Beautiful. Well, we have one more question for you if you're ready.
I think I am.
What makes you a woman behind the millions?
So cute. I miss those young ages. I'd say for me, it's about showing up authentically, right? Embracing challenges, mentoring others. Whether I'm guiding those advisors that I talk about in the chapter or balancing my own family and career, the goal's always been to make it a meaningful difference. Be
Mm.
bold, right? Be authentic and trust in your voice. The world needs your perspective. Find your rhythm. Embrace the dance. And remember, you're not just behind the millions, you're shaping those lives, those young ones like your daughter. That's the true power of the
Just shaping the millions and the future millionaires as well for it too. Trisha, what was it like writing this chapter?
it was scary for me. All right. I talked to you, I said, about trying to put together a just like a guidebook for those that are looking to go independent. But I've never actually gone through the writing process for a chapter. I write poem. I've done other things, but never like this. So I think I know more. Nora had said I actually went through like 5 different iterations before I sent anything. I started with one theme, and then I ended up. I picked the embrace the journey, just dance because of the Leanne Womack song. I hope you dance. It came to me through one of my jobs, actually one with the CEO that I asked. That was our theme song then, and I was like, you know what? I always think about that. Don't sit on the sidelines. You gotta dance. So I think once I posted it on LinkedIn and said that I was doing this, I was like, there's no turning back. I'm committed. So it was a good process for me to really try to, turn some of the things into stories, interview some of the people that I've already helped through the process, and how do I condense that into one chapter? It was a really good it was eye-opening and, empowering for me to really go through that process, and I was very excited, and really excited to see how it all comes together.
Yes. Oh, it's a beautiful book. It's a beautiful journey. As you said, it is a transformation. And the person you enter that journey is not the same as
No.
when you leave it. You are so different. You're confident. You're embracing risk like you've never embraced before, being very strategic. You're thinking like a CEO. It is really neat to see. And I love, as you talked about in the beginning, when you can bring your kids along that ride
Yeah.
and them getting to see little bits of it. And you saw the commercial. My kids were there. My daughter sang on stage, which I was painfully shy as a child. I can't even fathom doing that
Yeah.
at 6 years old.
No, and my kids were like that too. They were clinging to me all the time, and I think for them to see this and be actually pulling them in like you were doing, I know you're gonna start doing books with some of the younger, kids, which I'm, like, really excited to see.
I can't wait for that. And for them, and the goal is for them to pick a big moment in their life, and then let's create characters to act it out in the story, and for them to identify they went through something really tough. They learned this huge lesson or multiple lessons, and this is how they came out, uh, to reflect. And that's what I've noticed with all of our authors.
Yeah.
It's really big to sit, write a chapter, and reflect on all that you've done in your career. Personal as well.
Yeah.
For
Well,
2,
yeah,
there's
that
so
was
much
really
past
tough.
and just moving through it. And
I
not
think
seeing the past.
the toughest part for me too was it's a chapter on Beyond the Broker and Going Independent, but it's a chapter. So how do I take everything that I've done and figure out what I'm gonna focus on in that chapter? And that's what took me the longest, is trying to kind of figure out what are the more important things. You've got all these other people writing that I'm gonna focus on, and that's I think why I took the people that I helped over the last couple of years and said, "Okay, you know what? Let me see if they'd be interested in me interviewing them and kind of intertwining their stories into this so I can focus really just on that."
Oh, beautiful. It was an amazing chapter. I cannot wait for everybody to read Beyond the Broker and Tricia Brady's chapter within it. So much is going to come from this book. I just know it. And thank you for always supporting us at the Wealth Boutique and Pink Fix Productions, and for showing up in the way that you do, Tricia. It's just a pleasure to work with you.
I love you guys, and thank you for including me in this opportunity. I love what you're doing. It's amazing, and it's really empowering for all of us. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Tricia. All right. Well, we will see you next week on another episode of Women Behind the Millions Beyond the Broker Edition. All right. Have a good night, Money Queens. Thank you for tuning in again.
Thank you.
Hey, Money Queens, looking to get your wealth to that next level, 7, 8, 9 figures? Follow us on Instagram at PinkFixMyMoney and at Women's Wealth Boutique for more millionaire money tips.